Hello, Meadville. I'm Autumn Vogel with the Redevelopment Authority and the My Meadville Project. Today we're highlighting an initiative that's working to build a stronger, more sustainable local economy. I'm joined today by Vesta Silva and Julie Wilson from the Northwest Pennsylvania Investment Cooperative. Thank you for being here.
Hi.
Hi. Thanks. Thanks for being
Good to be here.
Yeah. Good to have you. So let's get started. Can you tell me a bit about yourself and what got you involved with
Sure. Well, right? Although the co-op is taking up a lot of our time these days. I moved to Meadville in 2004, so I've been part of the community for quite a while, and actually I've seen in the last few years a resurgence of energy, a new spirit downtown. We're seeing new clothing shops, new gaming stores, right? New restaurants popping up, and it seems like a really great moment for the community. I know the work you're doing intersects with a lot of that energy, and we're seeing people decide, right, Meadville is worth their investment in terms of their time, their entrepreneurial spirit, right, their businesses. And as I've gotten to know some of the people involved in these initiatives, I've realized, right, that there are still significant barriers to a young entrepreneur starting or expanding a local business. And so I wanted to get involved and to think about how that could happen in a productive, community-oriented kind of way.
Yeah, so like Vesta said, I work at Allegheny College. That's my regular job, but I like to say I had a kind of different life before I went to graduate school and got into higher education. I was a neighborhood organizer right after graduating from college. I worked on a lot of kind of housing and land use and kind of business projects. Ended up becoming a small business owner for 5 years and ran an independent video store in St. Paul, and was just always really involved in kind of community-based, local, sustainable economic development, and trying to figure out how do you kind of create structures and systems that kind of are really about taking care of people and generating wealth here. And so when I went to graduate school, I kind of, you're in the like ivory tower or whatever, but I always had this need to stay connected. And then when I came to Allegheny College in 2010, it was like the perfect fit for me because there's such a great relationship between the college and Meadville, and so many amazing people in Meadville doing amazing work, and it was just really cool to get involved with those projects. And so I guess that all culminated in last year, the annual theme, which I co-coordinated, was the Year of Meadville, and that was really focused on community and economic development. And as part of that work, Stacy Mitchell from the Institute of Local Self-Reliance came here, and she kind of introduced this idea of an investment cooperative, which is kind of how we got here.
I remember when Stacy came. That was a great visit. A lot of good stuff came out of it. And it's exciting to see this stuff carry on and things coming out of it even years down the road. So this is great. So again, we're talking about the Northwest PA Investment Cooperative. We'll refer to it as the Investment Cooperative for the rest of our time together, save us time and breath. So let's start very basically. What is a cooperative and what is an investment cooperative?
Absolutely. Well, actually, a lot of people in Meadville are probably familiar with the model of cooperatives. Meadville has a rich history of cooperatively organized businesses, right? Rural Electric Cooperative, C&J Industries is now an employee-owned business, which is not quite the same, but a similar sort of model. The idea of a cooperative is that everyone who owns a share of that business is an owner on the same footing as every other shareholder. So unlike a traditional corporate structure where if I own one share and you, Autumn, own 100,000 shares, right, my voice doesn't matter and your voice is quite loud. In the cooperative model, it's one share, one vote. Everyone buys a single voting share, and then everyone has the same input into the activities and the actions of the cooperative. Now, members are able to accelerate the economic work of the cooperative by buying additional accelerator shares, but the basic premise of any cooperative, one share, one vote, all the members coming together on an equal footing, everyone having the same amount of agency and input.
Cool. And so an investment cooperative is a step further than that. What does that look like?
So, like, So there are lots of different co-op models out there.
Absolutely.
One is like a consumer co-op, right? Maybe you're a member at a
savings
grocery
and loan
store,
or
a
a
savings and
grocery
loan, or
store.
something like that, and you're a consumer, and as a consumer, you have some say in the management or the governance of the organization. There's also more worker-owned co-ops or producer co-ops where the people that are actually doing the work are owners and governing together. What's unique about an investment cooperative is that it's the member owners are part of an investment group that are using their collective voice and energy to kind of collectively invest in their community.
And in this case, our investment is commercial real estate, right? So the goal of the investment cooperative, as we've started it here, is to buy, renovate, and lease high-quality commercial spaces in this region, and to help nurture startups or expansions of local businesses into those spaces. So, I mean, just to go on one of those local businesses I mentioned before, right, I'm good friends with the owner and young entrepreneur who started it, and one of the real challenges that he had was finding affordable, high-quality space. His business attracts families, it attracts kids, the space needs to be bright and clean and safe, and finding that space was a real challenge at a price that he could afford as a startup business. So our model, the collective investors, will purchase the real estate, will help to rehab it, and then we'll lease it at affordable rates to those local entrepreneurs.
That's awesome. So you're working with people
Yep.
to make it happen. So you can, if I'm understanding right, you can kind of set the prices at something that's reasonable,
Mhm.
and that's where you come together.
Exactly.
Is that
Right.
what I
So we can start at a below market rate, and as the business grows, right, that can become closer to a market rate. Then, right, the proceeds from that can help finance the next project, in addition to the economic contributions of member owners.
And I think that what's so cool about this model too is that, like, if you're a business owner and you connect with us or lease from the cooperative, you've got the cooperative behind you, not just as potential clients or customers or whatnot, but as resources and as partners, right? And so we're trying to work together to get folks with lots of different expertise and knowledge and commitment, and they'll be there, right, to help make sure that the investment co-op is sound, right, and that we're doing good rehab, high quality rehab and whatnot. And then, you know, we're going to be able to come together and leverage our collective expertise to do really cool stuff downtown that will create new spaces and opportunities for local business.
So you're talking a lot about rehabbing businesses downtown. Do you have a target area? Are you limited to downtown Meadville?
No, we're not. One of the reasons that we have that breathless name that you were talking about, right, is that we are able to focus regionally if the activities of the cooperative are successful and we're able to expand, which is certainly our goal and our vision, right? We're not limited simply to Meadville, though our initial project will probably target that, you know, really exciting, vibrant downtown right now.
Yeah, because like you've mentioned, there's a lot going on downtown, so it
Exactly.
makes sense to start where the energy is and to build there. That's great. So, rehab investment cooperative that's working on rehabbing properties. You're saying that that is a model that exists. Can you tell me about other models that have been used other places, or what you're kind of using to kind of create this?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, when Stacy Mitchell was here from the Institute for Local Self-Reliance as part of the Year of Meadville, she, in her presentation to the community and her talks and time here, really focused on kind of structures and systems that would work in a place like Meadville, and one of those was this idea of an investment cooperative. And it came out of, you know, there's really only one successful one in the country, and it came out of Northeast Minneapolis, not Minneapolis writ large, but a very specific neighborhood in Northeast Minneapolis, where residents came together and there were, you know, storefronts that needed to be rehabbed, and they said, hey, we want to do something cool here. And they pooled their resources and they bought some buildings, and and I was just there, and there's a recovery bike shop, a local brewery, their offices are there, and the buildings are just really, really beautiful. And this is a neighborhood that is experiencing some gentrification, so it's just nice to be able to keep spaces in the hands of the community and make them kind of accessible. But what's cool about what we're doing is we would pretty much be one of only 3, and hopefully this, will be more successful. There's another one in New York that's kind of hobbling along, we hear. But yeah, and the Institute for Local Self-Reliance is actually really excited to promote our work, and they've already been in touch with us and stuff. So we're really modeled on a proven, the concept of investment cooperative has been proven in Northeast Minneapolis. And so we've really stuck to that model because we think it can be transferred and applied here.
And a lot of the qualities of Northeast that made it successful there are qualities that are shared here in Meadville, right?
Okay.
That sense of deep investment in the community, people are here for the long term. Part of an investment cooperative is this is a long-term investment that people are making both financially and in terms of their time and expertise, like Julie was talking about. This isn't a write a check and forget it kind of project. And Northeast had that identity as well, right? Like people wanted to be part of their community long term. And we really feel like Meadville has a spirit that makes this likely to be successful, and almost certainly as what we're planning to be the second successful model of this in the country, it'll bring a lot of positive attention to Meadville as well, and maybe attract more nationwide and regional interest in our area. We could be on the cutting edge.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. And so how does Meadville compare to the Northeast community as far as population and maybe makeup? Is it similar?
Go
Do we
ahead.
know?
Well, I think, it's different. Northeast is a very urban area, but I think that, again, what is similar about it, as Beth was saying, is that in the Twin Cities and St. Paul and Minneapolis, there's long been a kind of concerted effort to really create kind of almost, I wouldn't say mini cities within the cities, but real neighborhood. Every neighborhood has an organization and has a community-based organization. Every neighborhood has different kind of programs that are available, that has a kind of neighborhood board, and people are used to working together. And it's very similar to what I see here in Meadville in terms of that you've got folks invested and identifying problems, identifying opportunities, and then working together on those. And so I think this is a model that could work in an urban area as long as it's in a neighborhood where people know each other, are used to working together, and there is that culture there. I think it can work in a town like Meadville. I don't think, the second model that we pointed to was in New York, and it seems like in New York City that it's struggling because it's too big, right? It's not really rooted in a particular place where folks have a strong sense of connection to and a kind of commitment to each other. So I feel like that it's, Northeast Minneapolis is bigger than Meadville for sure. But the kind of corridor, the main corridor that it's in, I still feel like they're kind of comparable in a sense in terms of the kind of spirit and, again, the kind of level of commitment and that kind of, I don't know, that just kind of culture of we're in this together.
So the context is right
Yeah.
in Meadville. Like
Right.
the stage is set for this thing to happen the way it's happened successfully other places.
Well, it definitely is because, look at what Taro Bean Roasting Company and how that came to be, right? And if folks don't know, thanks to Autumn and some other people, there was, and post year of Meadville Stacy's visits, people were really interested in this idea of collective pooling resources, investing in local businesses, and we had one of those local entrepreneurs that everyone wants a coffee shop, someone wanted to do it, but there were those barriers to finding capital and good space to rent, and but that was made possible because of a kind of community loan that kind of came through, and that's when Vesta said to me, hey, I think the time is right?
Absolutely. There was so much enthusiasm in that Taro Bean initial informational meeting, right? Mike had outgrown his incubator space in the market house. People wanted a standalone coffee shop. They were interested. And even in that meeting, I know many of you were probably there, right? There was this sense of can we also do something larger scale? We're excited to be able to help Mike to get Taro Bean started. We want to go there and have our coffee and buy our beans and have him roast all of the specialty stuff that he does. But it seems like there's even more we can do, and that's where the cooperative comes in. There is more we can do. We can all be involved in making it happen. And that's why we wanted it. This isn't Julie and Vesta's cooperative, right? This is the community's cooperative. That's why it was so essential that it was a cooperative model, because it can't be just a small handful of us driving this from the top down, right? It has to be the community coming together. It has to be that sense of pooled collective agency, the spirit of being invested in each other and in the space. And that's what the cooperative model allows for.
Yeah, I know that with the Kiva campaign that we did, the kind of crowdsourced community loan that you talked about, we were restricted by kind of outside forces, right? So Kiva had a limit to how much you could raise. They had terms for how you can move along. And it seems like this lets us kind of set our own terms and grow as much as we want to and raise as much as we want to for, for projects that have whatever scope that we see the need for here in town.
And one of the really exciting things about that you were mentioning is individuals can become members at whatever level, but also organizations can become members, including nonprofits, for-profit businesses, social organizations can become members as well. So it's a much more inclusive possibility.
Yeah, I think it just creates this really cool structure that allows us to do whatever we as member owners come together and say we want to do. And again, this fits really amazingly with the spirit of Meadville, because this is what this town does. But so for example, there's lots of talk, big dreams about a food hub or development on French Creek or whatever, right? Well, the investment co-op can be a kind of infrastructure for making those things happen. I mean, one of the things, the college, I work at Allegheny, they want to do lots of big things, but at the same time, the college shouldn't be owning it. It takes properties off the tax rolls. But this is a way that the college could invest in the co-op by purchasing accelerator shares. But the co-op will be private, right? And that the co-op can do something cool that benefits the community, that Allegheny and other nonprofits or for-profits, we could come together to make happen. So we can be really small. I mean, we could do one building or two buildings and work with a few businesses, or we could, as we grow and new people come on the board with vision and ideas, we can kind of do what the board and what the co-op, the investment co-op, sees as possible. So, and we're lucky because we have so many amazing people involved. Tom Cholak has just been so great. He's taught us, because honestly, we didn't really know much about...
We weren't accountants.
Yes.
It's very true.
We didn't know much about accounting. We had never written a business plan. I think I had, actually.
Yes, you had.
I had, but I don't remember. It was, it's just been so amazing to, again, have there are people that know so much and have so much to bring to the table, and we can pull everyone together to kind of do big things.
So one of the things that you brought up in what you were saying, Julie, is the kind of benefits to the cooperative being for-profit and private, right? So that any properties that are acquired by the cooperative are still in the tax rolls, but it still allows for Allegheny or the medical center or any kind of nonprofit to be involved and become a member. But it seems like a win-win, right? It keeps kind of the city happy. People can get invested. They can do the development that they want. I just wanted to highlight that, and if you guys wanted to.
Yeah, I think it's a total win-win. I mean, again, you can come in as an individual or as an organization or a business, and again, you can, once you're in with your voting share, you're a member, and you've got to vote at our annual meetings and electing the board and whatnot. And then as things develop and maybe opportunities emerge, you can buy accelerator shares. Like, oh my gosh, I really want to see that project happen, right? And you can, maybe at that point, it's an individual membership becomes a bigger membership where we can leverage different resources in new ways and whatnot. But yeah, I think it's a total win-win, because again, it's just such a flexible model that, unlike the working with Kiva or something, you're playing within these certain kind of parameters, and now it's kind of like this is a very flexible thing that allows us to kind of do what we want. It's a win for the city, and yeah, it's kind of what we make it. But I mean, the only thing I think that we're committed to, again, it's not the Julie and Vesta co-op, is that it's a co-op, right? And that it's about the one share, one vote model, and that this is something that we're helping to start, but we expect to take on a life of its own depending on.
Exactly. So we're founding board members, but the board seats will be open to election for all individual members, right? Businesses can't hold a board seat, but any individual member can run for to be a member of the board. The board will turn over, once we're past the initial startup period, a third of the seats each year. So it's fresh ideas, fresh minds, fresh energy coming onto the board. The idea being that real sense of not just being the member, but of helping to lead the cooperative is achievable for anybody who wants to get involved.
So, Julie, you mentioned in talking about the other model that exists in Northeast, in the Northeast neighborhood of Minneapolis, that that they housed what I think a bike shop and a microbrewery.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have any kind of sense of what this might house in Meadville, or what kind of businesses might benefit from something like this?
Well, we're really interested in businesses, right, that the community sees a need for, right? So certainly I could see, right, restaurants and food-based businesses being really popular amongst members potentially, right? Like expanding the options here. Anything that's oriented toward the needs of what the community perceives, which is why Michael's doing so well at Taro Bean, right? The community came together and said we need and want a coffee shop, not just his little stand inside the market house. And that same idea is going to fuel which businesses occupy the spaces that the co-op owns.
Yeah, so I see part of the co-op's job is precisely through our membership, but then also through just participating, at the co-op participating in the city, you know, in different arenas, getting a sense and actively seeking out, like, what does the community need in terms of business or in terms of other social enterprises? You know, there's been a lot of talk about a neighborhood center, right? It's been hard to find a space. Like, maybe the co-op something that could work with some kind of social enterprise like that as well down the road. So it's just a question of, again, it's a very flexible model that can work with nonprofits, for-profits, you know, but the real goal is the kind of the democratic cooperative model and creating a stronger, vibrant economic local economy, right? And that can take lots of different forms.
Great. So, so I guess you know, we're talking big picture about how this will impact Meadville, create a stronger local economy. You talked a little bit about it, but I'm wondering if you could expand a bit on what it looks like at the ground level. So what, essentially, it's a landlord, but what sets you apart, and what would this look like in reality?
So I think there's two levels to your question. So the first level, what would it look like in reality for the person who wants to get involved, right? And their first step should be to go to our website or to contact either Julie or I. Our website is our initials n.coop, right? So it's NWPIC, Northwest Pennsylvania Investment Co-op, .coop. We're a .coop because we had to be certified to have that web address. Only cooperatives are allowed to have a .coop extension. So if you're interested in getting involved, go to the website. All of our contact information is there. Reach out. We're happy to talk to people. So on the ground level, it looks like just reach out, right? And that's how you can get involved. In terms of nurturing the business, what's really important is us working in partnership and collaboration with the local business owner. So certainly other landlords can do that as well, but that's foundational to our model. Right, so we're not interested in like, oh, hey, you know, I'll stop by the first of each month and get your lease check, you know, like that's not what we're interested in. Tom, who Julie mentioned, who's been mentoring us as well, has offered to mentor the business who would be going into our first property and to help provide his experience. He ran the small business development SBDC, whatever it is, up in Erie.
Small Business Development
Thank
Center.
you.
Yep.
Gannon Small Business Development Center for 7 years and retired from that. I think it was his second or third retirement, actually, after he moved back here. And so what we have in place are a lot of resources to partner with and nurture that business. I think that's what sets us apart.
Yeah, and again, I think like we're thinking about the whole community and like what's going to help this community, what's going to be successful here, what's going to help build real local sustainable wealth here and good, you know, that kind of thing. But it's not just about, oh, well, we need someone to pay rent right now, right? I mean, we make it clear to all of our members that this is a patient investment. This isn't a kind of, we are for profit and we do hope to be successful and pay dividends, but this is really about us coming together and putting our money together to make things happen over the long term.
Great. So again, if anyone is interested in more information, they can go to www.nwpic.coop. They can learn more about the cooperative, how to become a member, more about the founding board, and projects in the future. Thank you so much for being with us, Vesta and Julie.
Thanks.
Appreciate your time,
Thanks,
and
Autumn.
excited to see where this leads.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks.